Crystals, of course. No!
But Dr. Cortex, to reach full power, we need not only your master crystal, but also the remaining 25 slave crystals from the surface. How do you expect to retrieve them when we don't have any Earthbound operatives left?
You fool! Do you think I'm unaware of the situation? If we don't have any friends left on the surface, then we'll need to find an enemy.
Crash! Crash! Dad! My battery is fried. Make yourself useful, big brother, and bring an extra battery for me.
Hello everybody, and Happy New Year! It is 2020, and this is another Kev play. The second game we are doing is Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. I am Kevin. I am going to lower the music and the sound effects, because we're not going to see any actual cutscenes really for a while. We are going to be talked to, so I'll keep.
Whoa!
And I'm not going to talk through it through a speech, so
Whoa!
I guess we can keep it on 10. Okay. Alright, so if you have not checked out my Crash Bandicoot stream, you can the Crash and Sane Trilogy the first game stream is on my channel. Kev Plays. All 8 parts are up, including Stormy Ascent. I'm just gonna hang out here for a second because I just want to talk. I didn't want to talk in the opening because I wanted to keep the volume loud. But that would have drowned out my. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so if you want to check that out, it's me it's my first stream on YouTube as I guess a YouTuber, if you want to call me one, which I'm not, but you know, I guess I'm jumping in. It's all baby steps, and it's a fun little stream it's a fun little like 8 hours if you want to get into that. Crash Bandicoot 2 though, I am so excited that we are starting this. This is the first game. This is not only my favorite. I think is. I don't know. It's a toss-up for me between Warped and Crash 2, but I think Crash 2 holds probably like the most special place in my heart because it's the first game I actually played on console that I've owned. Like PS1 was my first console that I actually got. I got it for Christmas, and this was the first. This and Gran Turismo, because it came as like a bundle. I wanted to play Gran Turismo. I remember I was very excited for that. I was just like into racing games or whatever, but I remember my cousins were like, "You need no, you need to play this game." And I was like, "Oh, like I've seen commercials and stuff, and you know, I knew of it, and I knew I'll probably have fun, but I wasn't really that excited to do it." But it wasn't until I put it in and I started playing that I was like hooked from like the get-go. And by the way, I love that. It was kind of weird because I didn't start playing Crash 1 as... This is my first game, so I have no context to what the world is or anything. I just, you know, it's just like some kind of like Donkey Kong type game where you're in the jungle and you're this, you know, you're this Bandicoot character and you're just gonna do... Like, I didn't know what I was in for. So, I don't think I appreciated that Coco is here for the first time and the last time until we see her in Warped. But I always like this little beginning here because I didn't know what I didn't know what this was. Like, I didn't know what to expect. And really, this couldn't have been a more perfect game to start with for my, for me to be as a first game for me to like really, because I've played games before, but it wasn't like this, where even though obviously the PS1 was more of like the pixelated era, the pixel era, or like the polygonal era of gaming, there was kind of like so much blood, sweat, and tears when this game from Naughty Dog. Even though, I mean, like yeah, it's a you're playing as like an anamorphic Bandicoot or whatever, but this game, like, you never expected to go into this game thinking like, I'm about to get like sucked, like kidnapped by this scientist, and he's kind of like on my side, even though I guess I just saw an opening cutscene where he's clearly like up to no good, but like I'm gonna help him anyway. For like a kid, I mean, I was like 7 years old, I think. In 1997, I was 7 years old. I'm old, by the way, and but for as a kid, and that's like your first like kid game that you're playing. It wasn't. It was a little. It had a little bit more depth to it than just like, go save the princess, or you know, some hero's like adventure. It was like I'm like kidnapped, but I was like experimented on in like the previous game. There's so many like it's surprising how with so little storytelling that the PS1 was able to tell with a game like this, that there actually is kind of a story that kind of like invest you into this, that kind of like wraps you into this world, and like I don't know, like especially in 1997, because you just weren't used to playing an interactive type of adventure in such an unconventional sense that I think this game does. I don't think people really appreciate Crash 2's story as much as they should, because it really is kind of bizarre when you think of it. I'll go into it later, but we're gonna go straight into it.
Well, well, well. If it isn't Crash Bandicoot, welcome. I apologize for the crude means used to bring you here, but I'd rather expect a written invitation would have been turned down. I need your help. Surrounding you are a series of 5 doors. Through each door lies a well-hidden crystal. The crystals look like this. Bring me the crystals, Crash. That is all I will say for now. We will speak again.
And this is like, it's like I just put a disc into this like console, and I'm playing on this like small CRT TV, and a character's talking to me, and like I have to kind of like help him. Like it's like it was so bizarre to like I'm getting really like trippy with like this, but like I'm trying to put you into the mind of a child, and the sense of imagination, and this is like I think I've always been born with kind of like, I love films, I love television, and I love games. I like but like at the core I like story, and I think this is like one of what I appreciate about this game so much, is that it's not, games didn't really lend itself to like this big elaborate story as it does today in our current modern game era or whatever, but like I like how Naughty Dog was able to kind of like create this kind of like, I don't know, like they were telling a story. Like it's not, there's no cutscenes. There's only one cutscene in the beginning and one cutscene at the end, and an alternate cutscene. But it made you, while there's no plot beats really, well, I guess he's talking to you, so there's your it's really all character interaction and the experience of what you're feeling. I always love how this game made you, kind of gave you like a Stockholm Syndrome feel, where you know Cortex is bad, but you're going to help him anyway, and you kind of want to believe that maybe he is good, but you know he's not good. But you're just gonna, but you have no choice, and you just, but like you start to like kind of look forward to his next like time he's gonna talk to you. It's because it has like a sense of like, you know, isolation where you just got separated from your sister, and now you're just gonna do this, like face all these like crazy you know, enemies and obstacles and stuff. I don't know. For me, like, that's the feeling it had. Like, for a kid, it was just like weird that this is this weird thing that my parents bought for me. Was, you know, for Christmas. This is what I was like. It was like reading a book almost. But and I'm not saying this like when I talk about it. I know this is just Crash Bandicoot. It's not a Citizen Kane. It's not a, you know, it's not a, like some masterpiece work. But like that's the feeling that I got from this game. I'll save that Aku Aku. And by the way, if you haven't played the original PS1 version, I know a lot of people like are like, you know, oh, they have the Sane Trilogy. It's so convenient. It's so like gorgeous how it looks. Like, but there is a different feel when you actually play the original. Like Crash 1, the original game, you might have some nostalgia for it, but Crash 2 is definitely more polished than Crash 1, the PS1 Crash 1. And it also has just a different feel to it. I think Vicarious Visions did a great job at kind of recapturing it the best they could, but I think naturally there's no way you can actually, you know, you're not going to capture it pinpoint exactly, like to the T. And I don't know, there's something that even though like it was more polygonal, what do I want to do here? I think I can just slide jump that way, but can I get back though? I'm gonna try. Let's see. Okay. What was I saying? Yeah, I say even though it was like, you know, running on PS1 graphics, it still had a like Naughty Dog like you could tell they put a lot of work into kind of like the animation direction and the lighting. Like for instance, when Cortex talks to you, like the little like floating, like rotating like projector that like you know, projects his hologram. There was kind of a sense of like you were in this like smoky film theater room, whereas I don't think the Sane Trilogy really pulled that off correctly. They didn't really like darken, you know, like darken the lights, or you know what I mean. It didn't add shadow work or whatever to, or you know, I guess there wasn't shadows back then in terms of that, but you know what I mean. It didn't set the stage correctly, I don't think. But and plus, Clancy Brown is definitely a different performance. I prefer Clancy Brown's performance. I think Lex Lang does a good job. Lex Lang voices Cortex in this version, and he's pretty accurate. But Clancy Brown kind of had like a sense of menacingness to him, and that I always like. Clancy Brown, aka Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob, or what else does Clancy Brown do? All I know is he's also Clancy Brown's also in Lost as one of the Dharma Initiative hatch guys that looks after the hatch they find in season 1. Spoiler. But he brought a sense of like scariness to the character, but also that kind of same like comedic cartooniness that I liked. It was a nice blend. Whereas Lex Lang, He kind of tries to go for the menacingness, but it's more going for humor than anything else. But it's still good. By the way, I love that we get a little bit more freedom with our controls. We get the slide jump, we get the body slam, crouch, crawling. Definitely makes going to Crash 1 a little bit more, not frustrating, but, you know, you feel a little bit more grounded. Whereas this, I feel like I can experiment a little bit with my jumping and my attacks, I guess. I do like how I mean, this game looks beautiful, like, as a remaster. It looked amazing back then, though, too. For the time, it was very detailed, like, and I think that's kind of lost on people now, but it like, compared to what was, like, at the time, I actually remember that Christmas, my cousins were like, look at the graphics in 1997. They were so impressed. And I was like, I mean, I played other games. Most of them were like 2D, like side-scrolling type games, in terms of like platformers. But like just this concept was crazy enough for me, let alone the graphics. By the way, my sister and her friends used to think this was like the boss rat, this mushroom that comes out, so they would actually avoid it for like a while until they realized it wasn't doing anything. So that's just a little nostalgic memory I have of that. Oh god. There we go. I also love, so this is the first legit time that Koku's actually introduced, even though we were allowed to play as her in this version, in the original game, in all 3 games. I always found it kind of funny that her kind of being like a laptop user never got dated. Like, say she was like, I don't know, listening to like a cassette player or like, I don't know, like a boombox, then there's kind of a datedness to it because it's just like, that's not really what people use anymore. But it's kind of funny how it's still a relevant tool, even in 2017 when this was re-released. Oh, and by the way, Uncharted 4 was playing on her laptop as she was before her battery went dead, which I think is a cool little Easter egg, little nod to Naughty Dog. I do think it's weird that she was in the jungle with her laptop without any charger. You'd think that she would have, like, I don't know. You think they would have been close by to an outlet. But, I don't know, that's just me. Hey, Angelica. Great game, I know.
Well done, Crash. I knew I could rely on you. Now listen carefully. These holograms are hard to maintain. During the course of my intellectual pursuits, I have stumbled across a force that threatens to destroy the world. The crystals are the only means of containing it. The fate of the world is at stake. It is imperative, therefore, that you bring them to me.
Are you there, Crash? Crash! Crash! Are you there, Crash? Are you there, Crash?
See, Cortex is pretty convincing. Even though we know he's not good, it's just like... He even gives hints that he's not good, but it's like, but he's also giving hints that, like, it's like... I don't know. It's like I wish you were, and I hope you are. Even it's so weird that okay. So the reason I'm here, see, I think they kind of, I think in the original game, the hint for this, which I think they kind of just ruined with, because it says 0 out of 62, but in the original game it would say 0 out of 0 before you got your first box. And there's a color gem for this, and basically that was your hint, because before games just like held your hand, and just like gave away like their secrets to you. Basically, you kind of had to figure it out on your own. And it would say 0 out of 0, and that would be such a weird. That was always such a weird little statistic before you got your first box, because like that means it's basically saying don't get the boxes. And I can't tell you how many times I've tried to find this blue gem, or I think it's blue, right? Yeah. And especially as a kid, when you're like, oh, maybe I can like jump into the woods somehow, or like I looked in every nook and cranny of this level when I was a kid, and when you're a kid, you have all the time in the world to just play games. So. But that's the hint, though. 0 to 0. You have to go through the level without breaking any boxes. And I like how this is like the one little hard part where you have to hit on this Wampa box so you don't break anything. I love how Vicarious Visions put... I mean, aesthetics aside, they were very faithful as best they can to kind of like the exploits you can do, like the spin jump, which can give you a little bit higher boost, and it basically makes you skip some of these parts here. Uh-oh. Sometimes I do it though, and I lose my touch. So we got 0. I just wish I don't think Vicarious Visions was aware of that hint though, so they just kept it as 0 out of 62. I mean, they give you the hint, they basically tell you what to do in the loading screen as like a way to compensate, but something I wish they didn't do, but I guess, no problem. This will serve as a walkthrough for anyone who, needs any tips or anything too.
So, you are helping Cortex gather crystals, yet you have acquired a gem. Interesting. Well, Crash, know this. As long as you are allied with Cortex, you are my sworn enemy, and I will do anything in my power to stop you. If the fate of the world is truly your concern, you must gather the gems, not the crystals. If you obtain all 42 gems, I can use them to focus a laser. Yes, a laser beam that will destroy Cortex and the space station he has created. Until then, I must use my forces to stop you from gathering crystals.
Another twist. As if it wasn't bad enough that we had kind of a Stockholm syndrome with Cortex. Now we're like basically being used as a pawn between two evil scientists. Who do we listen to? Like this is the problems we had as a kid. Like that I had to face as a kid is what fictional mad scientist am I gonna have to help here? And by the way, Maurice LaMarche does the voice of the new Embryo. I think he does a great job. I think I still prefer Brendan O'Brien's performance, but I think Maurice LaMarche does a good job. Brendan O'Brien was the original Embryo and the voice of Crash. I will say I do, even though I love Engine in the original game, I actually, I think it's Corey Burton plays Engine. I liked his little intro he had in the cutscene. I actually like his delivery that he gives when he's talking to Cortex. It's kind of unique, and I honestly, like, a lot of people get married to the original game's performance, and obviously I still, like, understand that. But I still think there's a quality to the the newer performances that they bring, that the other voice actors bring. And I love that we get to play in a snow level. I always love snow levels in any game, but this is the first one in the series. Crash 1 was like old jungle and like Aztec environments. I think you were, in the original game, so the red gem's supposed to be here. In the original game, you were actually, if you knew how to like jump properly, like use spin jump, you can actually get it without using like the special path they want you to take. Oh, there it is. Yeah, see. But I think they raised it in this one so that people don't do that. Teach their own, I guess. And I love how bonuses work now. I think I liked how the Tona icons were kind of a thing for Crash. Whoa, whoa, okay. Our first death. That was kind of weird because the ice physics in this game are a little different, by the way. It is supposed to be based on momentum, but like there was something just weird about that just now where I just like bounced off the box. But we'll see what happens. All right. But yeah, in the original game, we got 3 Tona icons to unlock the bonus level. If you didn't get all 3, then you had to keep. You just basically had to keep continuing the level without, or start the level over. Whereas this, it just kind of throws you into it. Like you just either fall down the hole or activate the platform, and you're in. Kind of prefer that. Game's kind of stressful as it is. Crash 1 is definitely the hardest platformer of the 3. Ooh, see. I don't know. There's something a little wonky with the ice physics in this version, but it's nothing. It's a nitpick. It's nothing that crazy. You just have to like adjust to it. Also, nitros. We cannot touch these. They were not in the right? Yeah, they weren't in the first game. Also, I think in the first game, it was like one of the first games that had like a reflection in the glass or in the ice, so you could see Crash here. In order to get that reflection in the PS1 version, it was basically like they created 2 models of Crash. Like it wasn't actually like a reflection. It was just like they just doubled up his model. So and made it that it would like mimic everything you were doing depending on what you were doing. This version, I'm not sure how reflections work in PS4 days. Always check back, because Crash games love to put boxes back here. That's the detonation box for nitros. Another new box. I'm a little rusty, by the way, but I'll get the hang of it. But I would play this game for hours and hours, just trying to figure everything out. Because when you're a kid, like, it was just like old, when it's all new. Whereas in Crash 1, like, or when you play games older, you kind of catch on to things. But when you're a kid, like, not that, like, things aren't hard when you're an adult, but, like, there's definitely, much more challenge as a kid, because you don't really understand the rules of how everything works as much. Although, then you can argue that you're better at games as a kid, too, which I think has some truth to it. Alright. I don't think we can get that red gem right now. We have to like wait for another like gem path, or like a path or something from another level. It's weird, I've played this game millions of times, but I kind of always have to like remember how I play, like when I play exactly how like the secret, like the bonus, like the color gems work, and like the secret paths and all that. Alright. And I love Crash 2 is the only game where it sets you, it like starts you off in this kind of like headquarters, well, you know, like the little warp room area, and it was always kind of like the safe haven. And then you get to, and you have to go through the level, and then you can get to the other safe haven, and like no enemies are gonna come in, and I always kind of like that. I think they got rid of it because it was just like, it was taking too much space on the disc, when they could just like make the actual, you know, just throw you into the level and make more, come up with more content, I guess. But I kind of like it. Okay. Okay, I'm not gonna do, well, maybe I will. Actually, no, I don't think I can. I can't get there in a minute yet if I'm trying to get all the boxes. So I'm gonna go for all the boxes first. I don't remember if I can get the gem though right off the bat. I could try. Yeah. I'm just gonna try to. I'm pretty sure I can't though, but we'll see. This, like, the backtracking in this game isn't gonna be as bad as Crash 1, and the game isn't that as it's definitely gonna be a more smoother game compared to Crash 1 in terms of the format of the stream. There's not gonna be a lot of like. There's definitely gonna be no levels where I have to like complete an entire level without dying or anything like that in order to get a gem. There's going to be death paths, which are paths that are only activated if I can get to the path without dying, but it's not nearly as difficult as the challenges in Crash 1. Oh, we have the blue gem. So I guess maybe we can complete this. And these are, I like this is kind of a continuation of like the upstream levels in Crash 1, but it has a lot more freedom to it, I think. It's not, you're not like, you know, teetering on like lily pads and like bouncing on logs and all that. It has more space to run around, I guess. And plus, of course, way more cooler with the... Oh, did I miss something? I hope I... Oh, no, it's ahead. Okay, just making sure. Really cool that it has this little... I guess it's like a jet board. And compared to Crash 3, which has like so many vehicles, I like that Crash 2 doesn't go crazy with it. It kind of gives you these little sections. By the way, this is the first vehicle, because Crash 1 had the riding the warthog, the actual like pig, and that was, you know, from beginning to end. I like how this game kind of like lets you jump. It's a mix. It's a mixture of platforming, regular like running platforming, and vehicle, and then back to regular platforming. Okay. I always thought because they put enemies back here that you could reach that spot back there somehow. If you like, so like I played so I died so many times just trying to get over there. But it's just for decoration, apparently. Crystal. And they also added the crystals, which is kind of like our little, you know, the story set up that these crystals have some type of power that can like that Cortex can use against the world, but as a gameplay mechanic, it's also just a fun little like token to get in a level instead of just completing the level. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's pretty hard to miss them, but it's a nice little sense of achievement that the game gives you. I love, like, we're going through a waterfall. Like, this is cool. 1997. And it's like we haven't been, like, it's like we're just by ourselves, and I want someone to, it's like I want Cortex to talk to me, even though he's the bad guy. Just so I don't feel lonely, you know? In the game, that is.
3 crystals. Not bad. I see you are getting the hang of it. I need to conserve power. I will communicate with you again after you retrieve the 5th crystal.
So I guess I'll try to... Okay, so I'm gonna go back into Hang 8, and I'm gonna try for that other gem. Basically, it's basically a little time trial. It's basically the first time trial these games have ever done. Because obviously we can play time trials, which this the Sane Trilogy added for Crash 1 and 2. But that's separate from the game. It's just kind of like a bonus thing if you're into time trials. But for in terms of in-game, this is the first little time challenge we have. I don't think it matters if we got a checkpoint, because I just have to get to the end. And by the way, the timer is counting as soon as you start the level, so it doesn't start when it... Because, you know, when you get to the first, like, jet board, it shows you what the time is. It's actually counting off screen before you actually get to the time. So if you're trying to go for this gem, start going as fast as you can right away. Alright. The pits. I like how this first warp room is pretty, like, you are actually able to get all of the gems and well, you can get all the crystals, obviously, but, you can get all the gems without having to, like, go to some, level in the next room, or, like, having to backtrack or anything. I don't know why I dodged that bird when I have the mask, but I guess I was just force of habit. That squawk that the bird gives is so intense compared to the original. Wow. I'll go left. I think the crystal's on the left side, anyway. And I think what's freaky about the second game's enemies is that the first game's enemies were just, like, animals in the jungle. These enemies, they've been, like, they have, like, a robot, like, face, and or, like, the turtles have, like, spikes added to them, and, like, razor blades, and it's kind of, like, sick when you think of it, because it's basically implying Cortex, like, look at this. Animal cruelty here. And yet they're still enemies to us. Like, we're still fighting that. We still have to kill them, even though they're already, like... I guess we're putting them out of their misery, but... I guess I'm gonna go backwards now. This is a little annoying because of the fixed camera, but I guess that's kind of the uniqueness of Crash games. Good thing I cleared the enemies. When I was a kid, and I was more, like, when you're a kid you think you can just do anything, and when you see Crash doing this slide jump, and all these crazy moves that he does, or sliding, like I actually tried to do the slide jump, thinking that it was, like, it was a real thing with physics that you could do, if you slid and then jumped, and that it would give you a higher jump. It's kind of like that thing, like, when kids jump off their staircases with, like, a cape on, thinking they can fly. Or, like, jump from their, like, bunk bed with an umbrella or something. One of those just dumb kids with their imaginations. Don't try this at home type of stuff. Yikes. The music, I don't know if you can hear the music, because like, I do kind of want to keep it down so that the audio is more, because, I mean, I think you can still hear the music, but you know what I mean. The music was always meant to be more ambient, but I love the music in Crash games, and I love, like, the chill, kind of just, like, jungle, hijinks that this, music offers. It's very calming. Therapeutic. Yeah, these enemies are definitely way scarier. Compared to the first. And I always thought these were rats, but apparently they were they were intended to be moles, which makes sense. I mean, rats do burrow into the ground, but I guess it would make more sense that they're rats. I mean, that they're moles. They're purple in the original version, though, so I didn't know what to think. I just had this random memory. I actually was playing this level as a kid, and my dad was watching me play, and he was such like a like in such a like traditional dad fashion. He's like, "Those are TNTs, son. You don't want to mess with TNT." Like that was his life lesson to me. That like on my wedding day, that's what I'm gonna remember. Don't mess with TNT. Okay, I need to allow these boxes to stay, so I don't. I'm gonna jump on the second box. And these are the first boxes, by the way, that require a body slam, so can't do it. Why aren't these boxes free? Oh, I'm stuck. Come on, Vicarious Visions. I can't get past this. Okay, so it's like basically saying like, what the hell? But this is what you do. And it was this, by the way, that TNT thing for my dad. That was this. I just remember it was this level. It's so weird that was in like the it had to be like late 90s. He told me this, and I still. It's amazing how you can play a level of a video game like today in 2020, literally more than 20 years later, and you can remember a memory like that. It's kind of like, I think the same thing works with music. When you hear a song and it just brings you back to a time. Okay, so I think in I don't know if the rule applied in Crash 1 as much. I think it was... I can never figure it out, but I think it's in Crash 2 that if you jump on a Wumpa crate, it's typically 5 bounces and it gives you 2 Wumpa fruits each. But if you jump on it and then jump off it and and land on the ground and then jump back on it, it's just gonna break right away. Like so. The original Crash 2 though, you had to jump on it 10 times and it only gave you 1 Wumpa fruit at a time. But I think they just made it so in this version, so it's not as tedious that you're jumping 10 times. They just cut it in half, which is a change I think is appropriate. Kids today don't have that attention span, but then what kid does have that attention span? I don't know how I guess it speaks to the game's entertainment value that I was able to just keep playing. I kind of like I know I'm exploiting my spin jump too early and I'm still falling into these pits, but I kind of don't want to just like exploit the game so much. I kind of do want to just show off me kicking some mall ass. Alright. Oh, and this is the first game that showed us the crash dance. Because in the original game, when he's like at the box, like the gem screen, he does a little spin and he's like, hey, like, I don't know, it was kind of, it wasn't the kind of crash dance, but this is a dance that definitely another thing I would copy, like the slide jump, thinking I was such a cool guy. And I was. Anyone who does the crash dance at a party is the coolest guy in the room. Whoop. These mines don't kill you, by the way, they just slow you down. I hope Vicarious Visions didn't take out... because when the boulder hits the wall, and if you're too close in the original game, Crash would like kind of like fall forward into a barrel roll. Which kind of gave a sense of like panic to this level. Whoa. I love how much more intense this game is compared to the original, whereas like the obstacles that were in the way during the boulder levels were like these little tribal fences. It was literally like a stick put into the ground with like two like horizontal, like two crosses, whereas this is like electricity gates and mines and insanity. And the music is much more intense in this one too. I always love the music in this game. Nitros, like, they really amped it up for the sequel here. And this is, I guess I didn't realize it in the original, you know, back when I first played this, but these are kind of a throwback to the original bonus rounds. The same kind of aesthetic that where you're just like in the trees. Beautiful. Two, three, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4. Imagine doing this 10 times for each box. I mean, when you think of it, so much time could have been saved back in the day if they did the same thing, where it was just 5 bounces. There's only so much time in the world, but when you're a kid, you have all the time in the world, so... I think I always get have a little trouble with the end of this, getting all the boxes, but we'll see. Whoops. I try not to use my slide jump too much because I never know if I'm going to overshoot and like land on a mine or something. Woo! Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh! See, now in that shot there would have been a... Naughty Dog did this cool thing where when you... Like I said, when you landed, you kind of like went to a roll. Like real Indiana Jones, like, tension. But, I don't know, there's some little things that Vicarious Visions just kind of like skipped over. Still a great game, but it's the little things like that that you notice. But that was intense, by the way. I think I was literally like one little minute hesitation, I would have been dead. Oh, see, another thing. I was expecting. I thought Cortex was going to talk to us. But they just, because we're supposed to go into the warp room and go up. But they just made this, like, new boss portal. I kind of wish Cortex talked to us, though. He basically says, like, oh, we're not without enemies. Now, Ripperoo, this is the first boss that I've ever fought against in a game that I've owned. And he's a return from Crash 1, obviously. But this is who I thought he was. I thought he was just like, I didn't understand that like Ripperoo was like in costume. I didn't know what was going on. Oh, by the way, another little nugget of a memory is when I first had this game, I did not have a memory card. So every time I would play this game, it was basically just, let's see how far I can get into the game before it's time to stop playing, and then I have to turn the game off and then start over again. But surely, I eventually got a memory card pretty quickly afterwards, but that's just a memory I have. So, like, you can't imagine how many times I had to listen to this guy laugh maniacally. It's a much easier boss fight compared to his first fight in Crash 1, but you still have to learn the pattern. If you don't know the pattern, it might give you some trouble. Okay, so I guess they want me to go... I guess I'm gonna listen to my victory message in the next warp room. How far into the platinum are you?
I see that Ripperoo failed to prove much of a challenge yet again. But back to business. There are crystals to be gathered, 20 to be exact. The planets will align shortly, all 13 of them, and this will create a power great enough to rip the Earth apart. Properly utilized, however, the crystals can absorb and contain the energy.
Crash, is that you? I've been looking everywhere. I don't have much time to tell you this. You have to be careful. Trusting Cortex seems a little unwise, Crash. I can't keep the data path open much longer. Crash, you need
to... You're in for a good... this is definitely one of the easier... I mean, it's not easy, but compared to Crash 1, this is a smoother game to try to go for the platinum. And I'll be playing this weekend. I'm probably gonna stop here, but if there's anything that if you have any problems along the way, I don't know. I guess like I can help with anything because I've seen a lot of Let's Plays and I've seen a lot of people like kind of become clueless and then they had to look it up but I don't know. I guess you can look it up on your own regardless, but try not to look things up because this game is a good game for figuring things out as it goes. It's definitely oh nice. Yeah, if you platinum the first Crash, then you're gonna do good here. I also like that Coco intermittently interrupts Cortex too. That's what I like about this is that Naughty Dog found a way to kind of like tell a story without there really being that much plot. The plot's very simple, but it's more about the character interactions in this game, which is something I love. Oh, here's Polar for first time. Here's the little... I don't know if you have... I don't know if anyone's aware of this, but this is like... When you're a kid, you see that you can interact with Polar, of course you're going to jump on his head a million times. And then of course Naughty Dog knew you were going to do that, so there's some lives. But I think we'll end it there. I think it's perfect. We got the first warp room done. I'm pretty sure we're going to get through this much quicker than Crash 1. Crash 1 took 8 parts, which were an hour long each, whereas this I don't think it will be that long, especially since there's no DLC level. But anyway, we will end it there. If you enjoyed this stream, please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you probably in a couple of days, because I'll probably be doing this on a Friday or a Saturday. Alright. This has been Kevin, and everyone enjoy the rest of your week.